Welcome to the Wake and Bake podcast. It's your favorite hosts, Quentin and Pete.
Good morning.
I'm a Chargers fan. He's a Patriots fan. So we talk about our teams a little bit. As always, if you like to tune in, please support us by liking and subscribing. It's a big deal. Although, let's face it, we're not really in this for the money. We just thought it would be kind of fun to broadcast our football talk because we like talking about football.
We do love football.
Top of the order today here. Joe Hortiz had a press conference. Did your GM? Has Vrabel and or the GM had their pre-draft press conference? It looks like those are kind of going down right now.
Yeah, Vrabel did one. I don't know about.
So Vrabel just did it.
Yeah, he did it a couple days ago.
I've seen combinations of coach, GM, coach and GM, just the GM. I've seen all kinds of combos. So it was just Vrabel, huh?
Yeah.
I think someone has to talk to the media pre-draft, right?
Yeah, I think it's I think every team does it.
That's a league-wide.
It's one of their schedules.
It's a league-wide something, yeah.
It's scheduled press conference.
You're not shirking out of that.
Which is why, most of these guys haven't done anything publicly, since the combine or other, because they're not contractually obligated.
Yeah. Vrabel might have been like, Wolf is too damn busy for this right now.
Well,
I'll go do it.
It's, in my opinion, I'd rather listen to Mike Vrabel
than Wolf. What is Charger? I mean, what is the Patriots nation? What are their feelings on Wolf and your GM?
They better improve this season, otherwise.
He's on the hot seat a bit.
You didn't do anything last
You weren't impressed with last season.
You might as well not have been there last season.
Yeah, you weren't impressed with last season. You got your coach fired. You didn't really do anything.
Yeah, so
your coach got fired. Somehow you kept your job.
The whole season last year, Gerard Mayo was very much, it's me, me and Wolf are making those decisions together. And Gerard Mayo got fired, so.
Mayo seemed very supportive of Wolf.
Yeah.
As you should be.
As far as when is Drake May gonna start? Well,
When is Drake May gonna start? When is Drake May gonna start?
And whose final decision is that?
Yeah.
But also,
Wolf drafted Drake May, which is great, but also that's the guy who fell. He took.
Right.
I don't know how much credit you can give
to just taking the next best quarterback when available.
Best quarterback,
which is fine. We all like Drake May.
Yes, it seems like he's knocked it out of the park, but does he really get credit for that?
But the rest of that draft did not, as of right now, does not look very good.
Right?
So
outside of Drake,
which, like you said, is just the QB who fell to 3.
So, who all did they draft?
Jalen Polk, who had an awful rookie
Yeah,
year.
that was
so
not-
we're all still
that's-
just
that
hopeful
was your
that,
next
those
pick,
were
and-
just some rookie jitters and he'll come around to a serviceable receiver.
He didn't. That one didn't really pan out.
But
I mean, we'll see.
he's got a big jump to make to be a high second round pick,
Yeah, we'll see. Story's not written. I mean, sometimes it takes a few years for these guys. Everybody wants to bag on. I mean, it's kind of the similar story to Quentin Johnson. I mean, but even worse, because Johnson was a first-round pick.
Right.
And he had multiple other receivers that are doing well in the league now. Zay Flowers, Addison, like all the guys that were drafted right next to him, they've outperformed him so far. But, and Charger fans love Mike Williams now, but Mike Williams was like number 7 or something. We took him really high first round.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a big dude. He's a big athletic wideout. He was the top.
He had a crazy tape.
He was the top wideout prospect that year.
Which is always going to be a top 10 pick.
He was regarded as like, I mean, it was almost kind of Calvin Johnson-esque. Like, man, he could be the next Calvin. Like, this guy's, he's a big dude, and he's got great body control and hands,
Yeah.
And, I mean, he didn't do anything for like 3 years. He was
really
injury marred.
I mean, other than the injuries, though, when he was on the field,
He showed some flashes.
He was really good for the Chargers.
Well, he would. Well, I don't know that you could term that either. I mean, you would see these flashes, but I mean, it took him at least 3 years. It wasn't until like his 4th year when he got productive.
When he got dominant.
When he got productive. I wouldn't even say dominant, but productive. It was like he played a full season. He made a lot of catches. Like, he did what he was supposed to do. It took 4 years.
Yeah. So his entire rookie contract, which is not team beneficial.
Yeah. So, I got to take this sweater off. It's too hot.
But then the other draft picks last year were Caden Wallace, tackle, who was like the end of the second tier of tackles. Like, they didn't get anybody in the first tier or the second run of tackles.
Who was this?
Caden Wallace at the Patriots draft. I'm going running through the Patriots draft last year.
Yeah. He was a tackle.
But like promising that he can he's still
in the 3rd round?
Yeah, we're still hopeful he can become a serviceable
tackle.
But he's still not a starter right now. Layden Robinson, guard. He flashed as being a good guard, but never really cemented himself as the starter. And then Joe Milton, we all know he's already gone. Javon Baker and Jaheim Bell, who, again, Bell might not even make the team this year. And Baker is just in that wash of a whole bunch of 2 and 3 receivers. Like, they got 10 of them. other than Diggs.
So out of that draft class, how many starters do you have?
Just Drake May. Going into this year, just Drake May.
Just Drake?
And Polk will just be, he's there. He's going to be in the on
second,
the team.
third on the depth chart kind of thing?
At receiver, yeah. He's going to be right behind Diggs, but not, you know.
Yeah.
He still has some things to prove, for sure.
For sure. I mean, my point is, like, the point I was trying to make is, like, wideouts, labeling a wideout a draft bust, like an expectation that a brand new wideout in the first round is going to come in and just destroy it, like Justin Jefferson.
Right.
I don't know, like him and Chase Jamar are kind of the only examples of two guys that just came in as rookie wideouts and killed it.
Well, and the 3 guys last year.
Malik, yeah, but MHJ, I mean, nobody's talking bust on him, and like he had a weak season.
He did, but I mean, he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I still think he'll be fine. Agreed. I'm just saying, but nobody's throwing bust shade at him. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, people still expect.
And what I mean, the bust shade is kind of important because that trickles down to who?
The player themselves.
The GM.
Well, and the player. Once you get, you know, it's such a head game. Like,
I mean, yes, outside of like the player himself having to deal with his own head, which is not good. I mean, because we're all driving back to Wolf and the fact that he's GM and like, should he be in the hot seat, right?
yeah.
You know, I would say this. I think this is a fair statement. So I love McDaniels as Rabel's OC. We've
Me
covered
too.
that.
Yeah.
That could be a fantastic combination. Fantastic. And one that could like stick around for a long, long, long time.
Right.
Theoretically.
They could both be there 10 plus years.
Theoretically.
Hopefully.
Yeah. These are two guys that worked with each other for a long time. They know each other really well. McDaniels has never had a problem calling plays from what we know, or getting an offense, you know, calling a good game offensively, especially if he's got some talent at QB.
Not mentioning any names.
And you know what? Drake has some things that Tom doesn't. Drake's got mobility and a bigger arm. Like Tom was never known for having a cannon. And definitely not running.
Not early in his career. He was
And definitely
by the
not
end of his
mobile.
career.
Yeah. I mean, that's not to say he can't get the ball out there. He can get it out there on a deep ball. Like he can throw a deep ball, but
but Drake's come out of college with like his deep ball is more accurate than his 10-yard out right now. Like that's the knock on him.
Right.
His 8 to 10-yard out is not accurate enough.
I mean, this is the difference. Tom Brady can throw that ball out there 50 yards. Justin Herbert can throw it 60 yards on flat feet with no windup. He can throw it 60 yards across his body, running to the other hash, like, which is just ridiculous. That's a cannon. You know, that's the
Not
difference
one of those
between a
guys would've
cannon
caught the
and like a
ball.
good arm.
But yeah, I mean, last offseason, Wolf re-signed a whole bunch of guys from the team who had just gone 4-12. You know, like, he didn't make any new additions. So this offseason, they brought in a lot of new guys. Was that Wolf realizing, you know, taking advantage of opportunities, or was that Vrabel saying, yeah, we got to have some new guys?
Well, so the point I was going to go with here is like, so how does Patriots Nation, what's the grumblings? It's a short leash. He's somewhat in the hot seat, deservedly so. He's unproven. Didn't show much last year.
Yeah.
I think the thing that dogged Vrabel in his Titans tenure the most was the fact that he didn't have a great GM. Because I think Vrabel's a great coach. I think Vrabel, he might be, if there was an example of a coach that got the most out of what he was given, it's Mike Vrabel. Like, he had that team in the playoffs like every season. And they were a feisty team too. Like,
Yeah.
you don't go play them and think like you're just gonna walk out of here with the Titans like with a victory. I mean, they had games where they didn't even have a quarterback, and they would play you hard. You get out of there with this by the skin of your teeth, and it's like they had no offense here. You know what I mean? It's like there's no quarterback for this team. All they can do is run the ball.
Right.
They're one-dimensional, and we might barely win. This is wild. I mean, that's Mike Vrabel.
Not taking anything away from Vrabel in that, but it was just the AFC South post Peyton Manning.
Yep, you know, you're not wrong. You're not wrong about that.
But no, and in Vrabel's interview, he talked about what he learned in evaluating players, drafting players, and he got burned on a couple of his high, like a first-round pick and a second-round pick due to injury when he was with Tennessee. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, a couple of his really high picks, like, really didn't play for him. And so, you know, you can't plan for injuries, but he said he's started evaluating injury-prone people and what kind of injuries happen.
That's a big factor
What
for him.
injuries you can come back from and what you can't come back from.
Yeah. Yeah. Some are much easier than others.
And so even in, like this year, there's a handful of guys, you know, who have injury histories. And you know, they're gonna fall.
Those guys fall for a reason.
Those guys are gonna fall because everybody's scared, but because that's how GMs lose their job by
I mean, risk.
by drafting someone who doesn't play for you.
Risk is a strong component of being in the first round. You are high on talent, low on risk. Not high on talent, high on risk. You know? Hortiz, Harbaugh didn't take part in the draft interview. It was Hortiz, and then he had his assistant GM, Chad Alexander, sit up there with him. And I mean, coming from Tom Telesco, I was never a Tom Telesco critic because at the end of the day, he wasn't a horrible drafter. Like, he would hit on a number of his picks.
Yeah.
He didn't blow drafts. He had more success than Wolf did last. On average, you know, if we're just taking a one season sample.
Yeah.
We don't have a bunch of samples of Wolf's seasons here, you know, but Telesco, it's not a horrible drafter. I'd say like 50-50, you know, in drafting. He would never really kind of move up. He wasn't very active as far as moving around. He wasn't into the comp pick thing, which is a really big deal.
Right. Which kind of makes you think like he didn't value the late round picks.
What's that?
Which kind of leads you to believe he didn't value the late round picks. Like your 5th, 6th rounders. That if you find...
not every team rolls the comp pick thing. But it makes sense because there's risk with every single draft pick. You're always trying to draft the best player possible. I do think Telesco would fall for the injury/talent gamble more.
Yeah.
That would get the best of him. There's a player that's falling for some reason, but they have this kind of talent ceiling that's kind of juicy.
He would take that guy.
And he would take that guy. He would take that guy. Not every time. There would at least be 1 or 2 in the draft class. And most of the time that burns you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. If you don't compile extra picks via the comp pick formula and you whiff on a couple of your high picks because of this talent/risk formula, like, there's kind of mud on your face.
Right.
Like, it's not great. So that would happen. He would get burned. But I wanted to give a voice to the relationship between coaches and GMs. Some GMs operate with the guidelines of like, look, I am here to cater to my coach. My coach tells me what he needs, and I try and get him that.
Yeah.
And then there's some GMs, the other side of that spectrum is the GM that's like, hey, I line up the talent, you do the best you can with it.
Yeah. I'm going to get the most talent for the least money.
Yeah.
The talent that I see.
Yeah. It's my job to assess talent.
My definition of talent.
I'm going to get the talent.
Here you go.
Yeah. Make the best of it.
Yeah.
So, the good example of that from Chargers lore was AJ Smith. AJ Smith and Marty Schottenheimer. Like, that's why Marty Schottenheimer got fired. Was because AJ Smith came from that school. Like, look, I'm the GM, you work for me, I get the talent, you make the best of it. So, Telesco was a guy that was like, I work for my coach. So you tell me you need this, I'm gonna lay out, I'm gonna do the work and the research to line you up some options here. You tell me which one you like, I'll get them.
Yeah.
Good case in point of that, J.C. Jackson. Staley wanted J.C. Jackson. Staley loved his film, felt this guy had the attributes that he needs in a top shelf lockdown corner. Telesco went out and got him, signed him on this contract at the top of the market. They got him in-house, and that did not work.
No.
Not at all.
He tried to save his job by trading him back to the Patriots.
Yeah. Actually, that was a good move.
That was a good move for them.
That was a fantastic move by Telesco, actually. The fact that he convinced the Patriots to take him back, oh my God. Take on that contract, right? Stingy ass Bill Belichick? What was the trade? What was the deal?
It was...
I mean, we traded him though.
I think the compensation was just like a 6th-round pick. I don't think the Patriots... Or maybe like gave him...
No, I mean, the big deal was
like
taking on
picks.
his contract.
Yeah.
Like the Chargers knew, it's like, fuck, we're not going to get anything
It
for
was
this
like
guy.
halfway through the season, so they took on half the year. They had some kind of team opt-out at the end of the season where they weren't... Where it was low risk for the Patriots too. Because they were just going to cut him, and everybody knew that, and there was going to be no...
Yeah, the Patriots were like, hey, if he works out and he returns to form, like, we keep him. If he doesn't, like, we cut him.
We just cut him. They were like out of bodies in the secondary.
And I think they needed secondary help.
They were. They had nobody.
So he was a known commodity. Like, I know what he can do. Let's see if he can do it again. And he couldn't.
Right. Well, he like went crazy. At least
he had.
That's the way like the team painted.
He kind of went crazy.
He stopped showing up.
Yeah.
Or something.
I mean, but so I'm just talking about the relationship between GMs and coaches. That's a big deal. I think Wolf might be in that category of trying to cater to what Vrabel wants. You know? Now, Hortiz had his presser. And for Pete knows, but the people at home do not, whoever's listening to this. I have been a huge fan of Hortiz so far. Hortiz, like I said, I don't think Telesco was a bad GM. He was an average to maybe above average GM. The Chargers, under his tenure, the Chargers didn't have a talent problem, and to me, that's the GM's job. Ultimately, is to have talent on the team, and Telesco did that pretty decently. The Chargers have not been lack of talent.
Yeah.
Because their whole thing's been underwhelming performance, not lack of talent. That being said, Hortiz has a completely different, the Baltimore / Hortiz, the way they run their front office is completely different than Telesco or previous Chargers GMs. And so Hortiz had his presser. If we're going to assess the relationship between Harbaugh and Hortiz, when Harbaugh came in, he picked Hortiz as his GM. And they interviewed, I don't know, it was a long list of GMs. They interviewed a lot of GMs. There was like a short list of 4 to 5 guys that they brought in for second interviews. Harbaugh was there for those interviews. The Chargers secured Harbaugh first, knowing that he was going to be his blessing on the GM was going to be a big part of like getting Harbaugh, because Harbaugh got run at, just for any football fans who don't know, Harbaugh's last tenure in the NFL was with the 49ers. Essentially, that relationship soured despite Harbaugh's pretty serious success there as a coach. The whole thing soured because of the relationship between him and his GM, Trent Bulk. It melted down. Bulk was there before Harbaugh got hired, and ownership sided with Bulk, and Harbaugh left. The relationship soured and Harbaugh left. So it was kind of a well-known fact that if Harbaugh's coming back to the NFL, he's not going to be run out of town by his GM again. Like, right. I'm picking my GM. I'm going to be part of this process. Like, we're creating a team here. Hortiz comes from the Ravens, which Harbaugh's brother has been one of the longest successful tenured coaches in the NFL. So Hortiz is very, very known by the Harbaughs. And Baltimore, for the last decade, has had a very high reputation as being one of the best run drafting organizations in the NFL. One of the best front offices in the NFL, period. Yeah. It's been a strength of that organization, has been the front office. They're never short on talent. They're always buying low, selling high. Getting draft picks. Moving back to get more draft picks. So Hortiz came in and he did exactly what Baltimore does. He has been delivering the Baltimore front office experience in full effect.
Yeah.
Churning the roster, acquiring talent the whole year long. He came into last year with a over 50, 60 million over the cap. Really nasty cap situation. So he had his presser.
And building the trenches. His first pick last year was Alt.
And building the trenches. He started by building the trenches. Baltimore has always been very good at building its trenches. Yeah, always.
It's just, and I feel like over time, your biggest knock on the last GM, not that you didn't like him, but that he didn't draft enough linemen.
Yeah. So, my 2 nuggets from Hortiz's presser. Before I dip into that, nuggets on Hortiz's presser, but first it was the Harbaugh-Hortiz relationship. Harbaugh picked Hortiz, but when it comes draft time, Harbaugh's in the passenger seat. Him and his coach's evaluations of player talent are a big deal in the evaluation process. They carry serious weight, but at the end of the day, Hortiz runs the numbers, Hortiz offers the deals, Hortiz finds the talent and acquires the talent. And Harbaugh seems good with that.
Yeah.
I'll make do. Like, I like this. Like, I like this player or I don't like this player. It does mean something to Hortiz.
These are the guys I like.
Hortiz is not like, I don't care if you don't like him. I do. That's not.
This is the type of player I want.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's very much like Harbaugh has veto rights.
But the name on the jersey is up to you.
Like Hortiz can bring a player and make a case like, hey, look at this guy's film. What do you think of this guy? And if Harbaugh's like, I don't like him, like Hortiz moves on to the next guy. They seem to have a very, very good relationship. And Hortiz and those guys, they work. They are always working. They're always on the phone all year long. I love it. They acquire guys even when we don't think we need guys. I'll wake up in the morning and there's a new signing that I had that was not on my radar at all, because it wasn't even someone I thought we needed.
Yeah.
But they're always trying to upgrade the roster. Always.
I mean, I hope Eliot Wolf and Mike Vrabel have a fantastic relationship like that. And
you know what?
I think they could. I think Eliot Wolf is he's into drafting and developing players, and that takes a few years for your kind of plan to
You know what you should be hoping as a Patriots fan? Wolf is going to shit the bed, kind of.
And get fired.
He's going to get fired, and then you're going to grab Chad Alexander from the Chargers. That's what you should be hoping. Chad Alexander almost got hired by a couple organizations this offcycle. We were scared we were going to lose him. And he's been with Hortiz in Baltimore for a real long time. Like, he's on that short list of people to become a GM.
Well, no, I want instant success, and that means everybody doing awesome at their job.
I mean, hopefully Wolf knocks it out of the park, you know?
Yeah.
But if he doesn't,
I think maybe Mayo being the rookie head coach that he was, not being forceful, either, just not having the vision that he needs to have because he's too young, or not being forceful enough in his vision, and yielding to Wolf too much, maybe. And whereas Vrabel probably with his overall experience,
I suppose it
has some more pushback on that, and maybe together, like Wolf needed some pushback and some give and take.
As a Charger fan, I'll say this. This is where I want to go with this. As a Charger fan, going from a mediocre GM to this, I don't know if it's more exciting than Harbaugh, or it's been a revelation. As far as dude, this organization knows how to cultivate roster talent in a way that we've never. Damn, these guys are good. As a Charger fan, I've never had that where it's dude, our front office is, dude, these guys are bad, dude. Yeah. I have a belief in the front office. I am sold on the Ravens way of front office. Night and day, holy shit. So the point I want to make is, if you give Vrabel a Baltimore style front office, Super Bowls, dude. You were back. The dynasty is back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I love Vrabel as a coach. I think he is a fantastic coach. If you gave him a Baltimore level style office, holy shit. That team, that franchise is going to be nasty. And the cool thing about it is it's sustainable type success, because that's what they've done in Baltimore. Like,
Right.
it's not swinging for the trees one year because we happen to be good contract situations, so let's go spend a bunch of money on a couple guys to push us over the edge. They never do that, ever. Like, it's prudent, it's well managed, and it's always good. Like, really good.
Yeah.
Like, you always have a really good roster.
I mean, he had to answer some questions about why he didn't spend as much money this offseason as he could have.
What's that?
I said he had to answer some questions in that presser about why he didn't spend as much money this offseason as he could have.
Yeah, oh, did you watch it?
I read a couple of excerpts of it. I didn't
Yeah,
read
so
the
I mean,
whole
yeah,
thing.
they tried to kind of get that out of him, like, hey, why didn't you spend more money in free agency? And he's just like, we make offers on guys, and
Yeah. We made fair offers on guys who we liked, and
yeah,
they went somewhere else or what,
they sign or they don't.
But we don't overspend. Like,
We don't
that's-
overspend. We just don't overspend.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, ever. And most of all, the focus in that part of free agency, the Baltimore way, is to build depth. Statistically, money-wise, spending at the top of the market almost never works out well. You never get the production that you spent for. If you look at like how much they spent and then the production after that free agent contract, it almost never lives up to it. Like 90% of the time. You never get the production to dollar amount value that you need.
Well, because top of the line, kind of all the positions, top of the line money is way more than you're going to get out of anybody.
Exactly. So you do get the best value per dollar in the middle of the pack. Finding those guys, the Mekhi Becton, which we signed for peanuts.
Yeah, like 8 to 10 million for a
Yeah, less than 10. I mean, it was like 10 million, dude. Like, we didn't spend 20. I mean,
yeah.
um,
Which is not cheap, but it's not.
no,
But
they'll
it's on
spend,
the, but it's on the cheaper end of a starting guard.
again, I mean, it's a competitive contract.
Yeah.
The guy signed it because it was a competitive contract.
I mean, comparing, and then, yeah, obviously you got to build through the draft.
I mean, here's the thing,
Because your
too.
rookie contracts are cheaper.
And here's an element to it too. You got to realize, like, when you spend money the way they do consistently, and you're able to build that depth because you spend that money that way, like, you've got more talent on your team, so you have a better team, which attracts more players.
Right.
Players are willing to accept less because it's like, dude, it's like Derrick Henry and the Ravens. They signed him for $8 million. He could have got more. But Derrick Henry was like, no, dude, I want to play on the Ravens. That's a really good team.
Also, running back contracts, I don't know that he could have got much more. Which, speaking of running backs, one of the arguments against taking Genty in the top 5, which in this draft, he's a top 3 player as far as pure talent. Everybody's big list.
Genty's a beast.
Genty is the 3rd best player, if not 2nd best player.
Did you see his pro day?
Yeah. But
That guy is built like an ox.
But as a top 5 pick, your rookie contract is like $8 million a year. And when he signed as a running back, when you sign your free agent deal, he's not going to get that much more than that. If you look at the Derrick Henry contract, there's only like a couple running backs that get way more than that. So is it worth it to take the running back if you're going to have to pay him premium money on his rookie contract? That's the argument against him.
Yeah, agreed. You don't save that much money.
Whereas on a quarterback, you're paying him $8 million instead of $50 million.
You save the money. That's exactly right.
On a left tackle, you're paying him $8 million instead of 15, 20.
It's the same thing that happens with tight ends.
Yeah.
If you draft someone top 5 overall, you actually end up having to pay them some decent money because it's based upon their pick, not necessarily their position.
Right, because it's just already, it's predetermined.
And it's like, well, did we save money at this position? No. We just paid somebody top of the market.
Yeah, right.
And he hasn't played a game of NFL football.
Yeah.
We signed. Yes, he should be good, but he hasn't played one game as an NFL player, which
No. He has not gone through
he has not proven.
a 17-game series.
He has not proven.
Plus the playoffs, you know, like.
He has not proven. So Hortiz said a couple things. One of them that I loved, that stuck out to me. We always want to pick as late as possible in the draft.
That means you had a good season last year.
It means he believes in trading back and building more picks.
Right. That too.
Like, I'm willing to wait for talent to fall to me. And then I didn't quite finish my thoughts on, but one of the foundational pieces of the Baltimore way is in free agency, you get those middle contracts, and the goal of those contracts is to build depth heading into the draft. So you're not fucked at any single position. Like, we've got guys we can go into the season with and not, like, we're not like, holy crap, we're in trouble here.
So he doesn't have to draft for need.
Yeah, he doesn't have to draft any particular position. Good proof of that is like Conklin. We signed Conklin to a good deal.
Yeah.
A cheap one, but he's performed reliably for years. The guy doesn't drop passes, which was a big problem for the Chargers pass-catching tight ends. We didn't have a pass-catching tight end, A. B, those guys that were out there, the tight ends that we did have out there, they're not pass-catching tight ends for a reason, okay? Like, their hands are not fantastic. Conklin has fantastic hands. He's a little undersized, but he's got fantastic hands.
Yeah. He's a starting tight end in the NFL.
He has been.
He's, you know.
I mean, that is what he has done. So
maybe he's not a top 10 starting tight end, but he's a starting tight end.
I just bring it up because tight end is one of the positions of biggest need for the Chargers. Interior offensive lineman. Interior offensive line, the Chargers were very busy. They signed Mekhi Becton. They brought in Andre James, who was a great signing, a center from the Raiders. So in his press conference, Hortiz talked about that. And, you know, hey, this is how we set ourselves up to draft the best player available, not having to take a particular position.
Right.
Which is vastly different than Telesco.
And vastly different than the Patriots right now, where
not every regime runs it like that.
If they don't take a left tackle at 4,
they're fucked.
Or if they happen to trade back a few spots and take one in the top 10, there's a risk they don't get one at their
even more so. They could
pick.
take that guy and he doesn't pan out. There is risk with every draft pick.
Right.
Like, if they're going to take the guy they should take, and if he doesn't pan out, that GM is going to get fired. It's like, you burned our first round on a tackle, and that guy sucked.
Yeah.
So now we want your job.
Because last year, they obviously had to take Drake May, which meant they had to take a tackle with their second pick, and they missed the run at the end of the first round
with Polk.
tackles. Well, because all the tackles were gone.
Yeah.
So they're like, all right, well, now it's receiver.
We have to take a wide out. We'll take Polk.
Yeah. And then hopefully there's another tackle in the third round. But like at that point, like third round tackle is not starting in 3 months. You know, like that's if he was ready to start in 3 months, he wouldn't be going in the third round. You know what I mean?
Even worse, they traded picks with the Chargers.
We don't want to talk about that.
Even worse, they traded picks with the Chargers and played the Chargers late in the year when the Chargers were seeing success and the Patriots weren't.
And how many yards Ladd McConkey put up in that game?
And the picks that they traded, the Chargers took the wide out that the Patriots could have and needed. And so everybody got to talk about, oh boy, the Patriots wish they would have taken that pick back. Damn.
Yeah, because McConkey had one of the best
rookie receiving
years
seasons
last year of all of the receivers taken. Like
I think I don't know if he was the number one. I think it was him and Brian Thomas, and then Malik was right underneath it. But the big three were way like Malik was the only one. Neighbors was in the running
of the top receivers.
Yeah, but Brian Thomas I think maybe outperformed Ladd.
Like
but by a smidge.
Pure numbers wise.
But by a smidge.
But he was right there in the top three. And he was taken, what, 38th?
Yeah.
34th? Overall?
Let me look that up. Rookie. Receiver stats. Oh, wow. Okay. So, Ladd did not beat Neighbors. It was Brian Thomas, 1282. He almost put up 1,300 yards. Neighbors did 1,200. Bowers was number 3. I knew he was super high.
Yeah, well, he had like the best rookie tight end season ever.
He had 1194, so he was 10 yards shy of Neighbors. And McConkey was kind of right behind Bowers at 1149. MHJ only had 885. So Neighbors, McConkey, the Brian Thomas, and Bowers crew, like they smoked them by 30%.
Okay. But not including Bowers, he was the third receiver.
Well, I'm including Bowers because Bowers was in the 11. He had 1184.
Right, but I'm not including Bowers. I'm saying just wide receivers.
Yeah, if we didn't include Bowers, there were 3 wideouts. You know, and Brian Thomas was taken, I think, right before Ladd.
Yeah, he was an early second round there too. I don't remember exactly where.
No, I mean, well, Brian Thomas
or was he the end of the first?
I think he was at the end of the first. I just read an article, they were talking about it. There was a run on wideout.
There was.
At the end of the first round.
In the middle, like the late teens to early 20s, there was a run on tackles that the Patriots weren't keep. They say they tried to trade back into it and get in it, but it was too far away at that point. Like, and then after the tackles went, the wide receivers went in the 20s.
Yeah.
And they also could like.
So there was a run, in the 20s. There's the second run of wideouts started taking place, and that's when the Chargers were like, "Dude, we got to move up." And it's funny if you look at the wideouts drafted after Ladd, every single one of them didn't do shit.
Yeah.
Like Ladd was the last productive wideout.
But yeah, like I said, I haven't given up hope on Polk yet, but
No, I don't think you need to give up hope.
he is forever going to get comped to Lad McConkey.
So, Hortiz, talked about being the last one. He's like, you always want to draft as late as possible in the first round. You know?
Yeah.
That's to say you've got your eye on a guy, but let's not, hey, if we think we can move back and get that guy, like, let's do it.
But also, like, if you reach on a guy and you have to trade up to get him, you're giving up more draft capital to get one player because you had to give up picks to move up.
I think even more importantly too is we want to be in a position where, okay, yeah, we may have a certain guy that we think we can target at this part. We think he'll be available, but we've got 2 or 3 guys.
Right.
That's actually the most important part. We've got 2 or 3 guys at that level. So yeah, we'll move back 5 because we're going to get one of those 3. You know? Not if it was one guy we'd be worried about, you don't move back. Because you got to get that guy. Because you need a certain position filled, right?
Right.
Hence the whole setting yourself up in free agency with depth. Not necessarily top of the shelf talent. I think that's the most important thing to understand here is the goal is depth, not necessarily talent. The high bar of talent.
Yeah.
Like those guys are going to be way too expensive. We need depth. We need guys with like a high floor and some kind of ceiling that we're like, that would be cool if that shows up. But most of all, we like the floor. The floor elevates this position group.
Right.
And they were cheap.
And then I can draft a guy in that group,
and
throw
he
a
might.
dart, and either
he gives us the upside.
Yeah.
If you're taking the best player available at every hit, that is what you're getting, is the upside.
Yeah.
And because you're not position group dependent, like that is who you're getting. You're getting the guy that fell, that shouldn't be there, that has talent, but because everybody was pigeonholed into position groups, like, we got him. We got a guy. I was talking with my buddy Andy about Human Worry, that safety, which, by the way, that guy visited everyone. Everyone visited Human Worry, okay? Patriots, Chargers.
Well, because everybody needs a safety.
Everybody wants a Derwin James. They want to get to know that guy. Like, okay, let's see if he's got it upstairs, because we know you got the physical tools, dude. Like, let's see how you are in the room. Let's watch some film with you.
Yeah.
You know? See if you got the brain to operate in the NFL. But I was telling him, like, we were talking about the Eagles, and it's like, watch the Eagles draft Human Worry. Like, watch. He's going to go late first round.
Yep.
You watch Human Worry somehow drop to the end of the first round, and the Eagles grab him. When I don't know if you remember last draft, but they doubled up on cornerback. They got the 2 best cornerbacks in the draft. They got Cooper DeJean, who was like a top 5, who somehow fell into the second round.
Yeah.
And they got Quinyon Mitchell, who was like a top 2 cornerback. They were able to double up on,
right.
and both those guys started, were killers, helped them. They were starting in the Super Bowl. And Cooper DeJean had that pick 6.
Well, and now they have one of the best corner tandems in the league on rookie contracts.
On rookie contracts, dude. So watch them get
not J.C. Jackson money.
So now me and Andy were talking about, it's like, watch the damn Eagles get. Now they picked up a Derwin James. Wow.
Right. Yeah.
Like, really? Like they need that, you know? God dang it. Those guys they're doing it right.
We're not even talking about the Carter falling to them at 10.
You give Vrabel, and you know what? The Eagles run it very Baltimore-esque. Look at all the talent they let walk.
Right.
They're going to get compensatory picks.
And that is because that's where the Patriots used to be. Where they were hitting on their 3rd and 4th round draft picks.
Yeah.
Outside of drafting receivers that they were never good at, whether they were not good at developing them or what, every other position they were really good at drafting.
Oh, I'll agree with that statement. The Patriots
And
historically,
and those guys would sign big money and they would let them walk, and then they would be okay. Because, like you said, you could never live up to that massive contract.
But then Popper was trying to talk to Hortiz about the interior O-line. And so he was really trying to pin Hortiz into, like, so what's the plans with the interior O-line? Who's the center?
Right. Yeah. He's trying to.
That's the big question. Yeah.
And nobody's going to give you a straight answer at this ever, but definitely not at this part.
I mean, Popper's a good journalist. Okay, so he's going to dig down. Like, okay, I know what Charger fans really want to know. Who the hell is our center?
Yeah.
And Hortiz was great because even though he brought in James and Becton, and clearly they're paying attention to the interior O-line, okay?
Right.
Like, clearly they're upgrading that position.
It's not like the Patriots not signing a left tackle.
But publicly, he's not going to go, yeah, my guys suck.
Right.
And so I haven't seen Hortiz get, like, serious with any reporter thus far this whole season. But Hortiz got like...
Oh, you mean mugged him?
Yeah, he looked at, and he goes, Popper, we won 11 games last season. Okay? Like, Bozeman's a good dude. We signed him. I like Bozeman. I know him. Like, he did a great job for us last year. And I mean, on one hand, look, I'm critical of Bozeman. I'm not a Bozeman. I do not want Bozeman, to be clear. Bozeman is not my dream starting center, okay? He is not.
Yeah.
And it's my belief a large part of the blown protections that was a serious problem for the Chargers last year. A large part of that, I believe, originated at Bozeman. But to be clear, we paid this guy league minimum. And we got a medium of the pack center.
Yeah.
That's what we got, what we paid for. We actually got great value for what we paid for.
Right.
The value was there, okay? Expecting to get a top 5 center for league minimum is just not, that's not what we brought him in to do. Period. And he put in a good year. He played every game, dude. Every single game. He took the most snaps on the entire team at O-line. Didn't miss a snap. That guy earned his money.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, their roster, they have 2 blue chip tackles, both on rookie contracts right now.
Yep.
You know, Zion starting left guard, whether you know, whether he's successful or not,
Supposed to be a blue chip.
He was a first-round draft pick at guard.
Supposed to be a blue chip. They
gotta ride with him for no, you know, like
could wind up being a blue chip. We'll see if he works out at center.
right.
But as a guard, he has not lived up to his first-round billing.
So you should be able to have, you know, a league minimum center. You know, you can't have 5 number 1 paid guys. That doesn't work out, you know?
No, that's true. Although, the way the Chargers like to spend their money, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, at some point they're paying top shelf for every guy on the line and being okay with that.
Right.
Like, I really think the amount of money, here's proof of that. They signed Bozeman to like a $6 million, which is like, okay, better than league minimum. We're going to lock you up. We like you in the locker room.
Right.
You're a good, you can play center. We know you can play guard. And actually, Hortiz went into pretty good depth about that specifically. He goes, so when Popper asks about the interior O-line and who's playing center, he goes, look, Zion's getting a shot at center. We brought in James. James is a center. He can play guard. We spoke to James when we signed. He actually specifically said, when we signed James, we spoke to him about playing guard. He hasn't really played guard in the NFL. He's mostly played center, but he is down to play guard. So we look at him as a guard. We look at Bozeman as a guard. All 3 of these guys are center/guard. They're going to be competing for center. Somebody's going to get the center job. Somebody's going to get the guard job, and we're going to be good.
Right.
That essentially was exactly what Hortiz said. Like, he goes, I feel going into this, and he's like, going into this draft, like, that puts us in a good position. And he's not wrong. I think he's 100% on point. Of those 3 guys, somebody's going to get really good at center. And the runner-up is going to be a guard. And guess what? We're probably going to spend a top 3 round pick on some interior guy that we really, really like. Yeah. I definitely see them adding in the first 3 rounds to the interior O-line group. And dude, because of those defensive line prospects, like that whole DL edge class, the talent there is pushing everyone else down. So unless you're like an elite top 3, like interior or tackle, like all those guys are getting pushed down. Tackles too, by the way. Mr. Patriots fan, like who needs a tackle. If you don't get your tack like in the first round, there's going to be some pretty awesome tackles there in like the 3rd round.
Yeah, but not starting tackle next year.
I mean, I'm of the opinion like you that it's like, dude, don't get cute with it. You take the best goddamn tackle in the draft at 4 if you need to.
I want him to take that best tackle and then take a 3rd round tackle to develop behind, you know, like to be a starter in
by all means,
years.
double dip. Yeah, I agree.
But the guy in the 3rd round probably won't be ready to start next year. So
no, if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm saying double dip.
So
like you
can't be sitting on him.
You're using your 1st round. Hopefully, you move back with the Saints. You're using your 1st round either way on a tackle.
Yeah.
And then maybe round 4, like you get yourself another tackle.
Right. Because I mean, they signed Moses to play, and he's a great right tackle. But is he going to be there next year or the year after that? Like, then they're just going to be, even if they get a left tackle this year, they're just going to need a right tackle next year anyway. So.
I do believe there are some fantastic Oline gems in rounds 3 to 5. Dude, there's so many gems. So many gems.
Yeah. I want them all.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
All right.
So that was Hortiz's meeting. Ooh, Rogers. Oh, we didn't even talk about mock drafts, dude.
It's okay.
So there was a great article in The Athletic about teams and how much credence do they give to the mock drafts. Like, do teams create their own big board, or do all these mock drafts by the media actually get some kind, like, are the teams aware of the media mock draft? And does it change their outlook? Yeah. Does it change their outlook on the draft? And the short answer is yes.
A little.
Some organizations more than at some organizations more than others. But it's a stock market. That's what the draft is. It's a stock market.
Yeah.
Public perception is something.
Right.
When teams think certain players are supposed to go, does weigh into their decisions pretty substantially.
Social media has weight.
Like, when do we have to go for this guy? He's usually going around this round. If they've got a guy way higher ranked than all the other public mock drafts, like, they are double checking themselves, like, huh, what are they seeing that we're not seeing? Or
right.
What do we see that they don't see? Like, did we really just find something that nobody else is seeing here?
Yeah.
They're questioning themselves if they've got a substantial disparity between where they have someone on their big board and where all the mock draft boards have someone. They have dedicated analytics guys that are looking at all the mock drafts and kind of keeping track of people's stock on the media and then their big board. Because they've got their in-house big board, and then they're looking at, like, well, this is what everybody else is saying.
It's another tool that they all get to use. It's also fun. Everyone loves a good mock draft. No one wants to be the Cole Strange of the of any draft.
I mean, the Chargers had that was Tarheeb Still. We had two picks in the 5th round, about 3 picks apart from each other. Cam Hart fell. He was supposed to be like 3rd, 4th round, latest 4th round. Somehow Cam Hart was still there. And the Chargers took Tarheeb Still 3 picks before Cam Hart, and they double dipped. And Hortiz actually addressed that. He was like, we had Tarheeb on our big board higher than Cam. But those were the top 2 players at those positions. Like, that's who was on our board. And we took them.
Yeah.
Didn't matter that they were both cornerbacks and we were double dipping. Those were the top guys we had on our board.
Top player available.
So we took them. Which actually tells me a lot about Chargers, an injury. Because that's why Cam Hart fell. He had a shoulder injury concerns.
Yeah, that cost him like 50 picks.
It cost him more than that.
Really?
He was like on the freaks list. Like he's a big corner. On film, when he matched up against MHJ, he handled MHJ. Like he had good film against good wideouts, where he was the guy to cover him, and he aced it. So, like that's how good his film was, and his combine. Like he's a freak. Like he has a lot of physical attributes to him, but his shoulder stuff was pretty concerning.
Right.
Because it wasn't just one shoulder, it's been both his shoulders. Both of them. And twice. Not just once. So, for him to fall to the 5th round, for Tarheeb still to be rated above Cam Hart, which doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Right.
Tarheeb still wasn't on anybody's draft radar except for the Chargers.
Yeah.
The reason Cam was under Tarheeb was because of those injury risk issues. Risk is a big deal to Chargers and picks. Or at least to the Ravens-style front office.
All right, I think we got to wrap it up.
That's your episode for today, people. Thanks for tuning in. As always, like and subscribe, please, if you've made it this far.
See you next week.
See you next week.